appointment.
Your name, please, sir?
Picard, P-I-C-A-R-D.
It's nice to see you up and around again.
This is bigger than what you can imagine.
From Netflix's controversial series about a messianic figure to the Apple TV Plus series celebrating American immigrants, welcome to our show on the latest releases on the small screen with Deepti Laurent. Hi, Deepti.
Hi, Olivia.
Now, we're starting off with a huge release for sci-fi fans, or as they're known, Trekkies, Star Trek Picard.
That's right. Trekkies are in for a real treat this month, Olivia, with a new show centered on one of the franchise's most revered characters, Jean-Luc Picard, played by Sir Patrick Stewart. Picard, one of the most famous starship captains, is now retired. He's living in semi-isolation on a French vineyard. But he's quickly thrown back into the world he thought he'd left behind.
OK, well, Deepti, you headed to London with France 24's Clovis Casali for the launch in the British capital. Let's take a look.
The past is written, but we are left to write the future.
Hold on.
Depuis 5 heures, j'attends ici.
I've been waiting here since 5 a.m. to see Patrick Stewart and the whole cast. I've been a fan of Star Trek since the original episodes.
Have you ever had I've got the Star Trek Next Generation comic, issue 1. Maybe I can get Patrick on it, who knows?
Star Trek fans gathered here in London for the launch of Star Trek Picard, the new series from CBS All Access and Amazon Prime Video. It sees Sir Patrick Stewart reprising his role as the beloved Captain Jean-Luc Picard for the first time since the film Star Trek Nemesis in 2002. And 33 years after his character was first introduced to us in the legendary series Star Trek The Next Generation, we had a chat to the cast. Take a listen.
Little by little, we merged and blended. And I was very happy to do that because I admire him. I'm a fan of Jean.
The show is a rite of passage of sorts between generations of Star Trek actors. Newcomer Issa Briones plays Daj, the mysterious girl who approaches Picard for help.
It's a Star Trek that you've never seen before, very different, but it still has the heart that Star Trek always had, the spirit of hope and optimism for the future.
It's a story of second chances in the later half of a man's life. He's looking back at the sum total of his life choices, and he has a lot of regret, and he's been given a chance to make that right.
The series is also full of nostalgia for past characters. It's also a chance to finally address one of the franchise's greatest incongruencies. Picard, a Frenchman, finally speaks French.
That is not true, sir.
Actually, I think the first words I utter in the series are angry French words. That's what I mean. Everything has changed.
Star Trek Picard will be followed by a third season of Star Trek Discovery out later this year. There are also multiple shows in the works, including plans for live-action series.
For not trying to talk me out of all this. Believe me, I know better.
So that show was already renewed for a second series, even before the first one came out, demonstrating huge confidence in its appeal. So what's your verdict then?
Well, for the record, Olivia, I'm not a diehard Star Trek fan, but this is definitely a series that you can watch if you're not a diehard fan. It does help if you're familiar with the original series, but this one is less kitsch, it's less campy, a style that's actually plagued the series in the past.
All been its selling point for people who love that.
Exactly, especially teenagers, I guess. But this season is a lot more adult. It feels a bit more serious, a bit more 2.0, if you like. It's interesting from a strategy point of view as well, because Amazon Prime Video reportedly aggressively outbid Netflix for the international rights to Star Trek Picard. CBS clearly wanting to piggyback on Amazon's global audience. Meanwhile, interestingly, it's Netflix who's got the international rights to the Star Trek TV series back catalog, really showing us the power of these streaming platforms today.
And of course, they're tapping into a huge fan base who'll be watching that series. Now, speaking of Netflix, the platform released a controversial new series this month called Messiah, and that's starring French actor Thomas Sisley.
Yeah, that's right. This is one of those shows that everyone's just been talking about this month. It's about a mysterious all-powerful figure played by the excellent Belgian actor Mehdi Debi. He gets the Messiah. He gains a cult-like following when he performs miracles in public places, like bringing a dead boy back to life and saving a teenager during a tornado in the U.S. He garners the attention of the CIA when he tries to smuggle 2,000 Palestinian refugees from Syria into Israel. And so the show asks, is this man a true prophet, or is he just an imposter? Well, we'll take a look at what the cast had to say about the series.
Some people are calling him a prophet.
He saved my daughter's life.
Or maybe he's a terrorist.
This man is the poster boy for America's problems.
Imagine the Messiah would show up today, but you wouldn't be able to prove that he is the Messiah, and you wouldn't be able to prove that he's not.
The show concentrates on the question, who is this man?
Is your world good? Is it evil? What you see will be your choosing. The first thing I needed to do is to get rid of all the stereotypes that one can hear or think of when you hear the word Messiah. So I watched a lot of documentaries and then fiction about film portraying messianic figures. I really had to get rid of a certain idea of what I wanted to do and let the spirit just channel it and just like be flowing with it.
Wow, so some big political and spiritual questions there. And a show about religion was always going to be controversial, wasn't it?
It was, and you kind of get the impression that that was a goal as well. It is also controversial on so many layers. This new messianic figure is called Al-Masih, so is he the Christ or is he the Antichrist? Critics say it's blasphemous. In fact, the Royal Commission of Jordan asked Netflix to refrain from streaming the show in the country where part of the series was shot. It also asks very uncomfortable questions about faith and how vulnerable we are to belief-defying miracles. I found it pretty balanced in its portrayal of religion in general. The Messiah touches upon the lives of people of all religions, Muslims, Jews, evangelists, non-believers. I didn't love the whole series. I found it a little bit meandering and very frustrating that it raises so many good questions but answers so few in the end. Although there is a twist at the end that does set the series up for a possible second series.
Okay, well, from a mysterious religious figure to a mystery of a supernatural sort now, an environmentally conscious hero who is at the centre of this Nordic noir show. It's called Ragnarok. Excuse my pronunciation. That's also from Netflix, and as you can hear from my excellent pronunciation, it's set in Norway.
That's right. This one's from the Danish showrunner Adam Price, who actually brought us the BAFTA award-winning political drama Borgen, Olivia.
Not only award-winning, but hugely successful, hugely popular and addictive.
Exactly. So this time he's taking on climate change. Ragnarok is a teen drama meets supernatural. It's set in a fictional Norwegian fjord called Edda that's experiencing early spring seasons and polluted drinking water as a result of factories nearby. It's set against the backdrop of a very topical climate change crisis. The show depicts Norse mythology. In fact, Ragnarok means the end of the world brought about by an epic battle between gods and giants.
Du, han nygutten I klassen din. Jeg vil at dere skal holde øye med han.
Det der fjord. Han en utul, han går I trea. Alle små jentene helt gale etter han.
Det oss som avgjør liv og død.
Skal det ikke være en krig først?
Jettene her fortsatt. De ødelegger verden. Det ingen som har tatt opp kampen mot dem. Ennå.
Yep, some of those issues sound eerily familiar. So your thoughts on the show?
Well, actually, I was pleasantly surprised, Olivia. I thought it neatly crisscrossed between the high school drama and the more interesting supernatural elements. And through this small-knit community, we start to distinguish those who are evil. And there are some truly despicable characters in the show and those who do good. And the show really setting us up for this battle between good and evil. It's also visually gorgeous. I mean, the show is set in this remote small town nestled between the fjords. And you really do get a sense of how climate change affects these small remote communities. And the message about climate change is really powerful without ever being too preachy, and we see it through the eyes of these high school students, the younger generation, which I also think is very topical.
Of course, the generation who are going to be certainly on the front line and concerned. Now, we're wrapping up the show on a more positive note, an uplifting new series from Apple TV Plus based on the incredible real-life stories of immigrants in the United States.
Yeah, and I think what makes the show really special is because these are true stories. So this is an 8-part anthology series from Apple TV Plus, inspired by true immigrant stories in the U.S. that were originally published by Epic magazine. It's executive produced by Kumail Nanjiani and Emily V. Gordon, who brought us the wonderful film The Big Sick. Each episode is based on the true story of an immigrant's path to success, the path to the American dream. It looks at the sacrifices that parents have made for their children to have a better future, the struggles to fit into an American society, the guilt in leaving your family behind for a new life in a foreign country. Each episode is really quirky as well. The first episode is about a 12-year-old Indian boy who's left to run his parents' motel when they're deported back to India. One of my favorite episodes is that of a Nigerian man who rediscovers his childhood passion for cowboys in rural Oklahoma. It's a very touching story. And what's really nice is, politicians tend to group migrants, everyone together as migrants, but this show really gives us a sense that each migrant's story is different and their battle is different. So it's really poignant, it's uplifting. It's exactly the kind of positive spin on migrants that we need right now in a world that can feel a little bit hostile.
Yeah, definitely a very personal take on this big social issue. And obviously Apple TV Plus certainly believes in the staying power of that show because, like Star Trek, they renewed for a second series even before the first season came out. Well, thanks so much for that roundup, Deepti. We'll leave you with a sneak peek at that show, Little America, which is out this month. Remember, you can get more arts and culture on our website, and you can keep up with us on social media too. There's more news coming up on France 24 just after this.
This is life. We don't always get another shot.
You always thinking of going to moon when we haven't left the ground.
Yes. I'm going to take you to the moon.